You're anti-trans.
Oh, this one. Yeah, this one is heretics. Yeah. So we've got Graham Linehan, Linehan, YouTuber ContraPoint swore puberty blockers were reversible. I doubt this is much of anything, but I honestly don't remember her talking much about puberty blockers. So either it's since I started watching. Did Linehan ask his barber for a Hitler? There is a bit of that going on. I think he's always looked like this. I'm not sure. Anyway. All right, well, let's see what he's up to. Oh, thank you, Aurora Borealis, Santa Barbara. Wow, it's probably a lot warmer there than it is here. Oh, thank you. It's a bit croaky today, but we make do, we get on, you know. I don't mind a lot of TERFs, however, I'm not a fan of KJK. Even caused Talk TV to say fuck it to her. Yeah, she's very ultra. Like, she would not be fine with someone like me. I think even someone like me who calls myself a male and stuff like that. I don't know. There's not much reaching those kinds of people, so I don't really care to, you know. Anyway, let's see what Linehan's on.
We've got a kind of multi-tiered problem, you know, and I think the best way to and the reason why Dr. Cass is being so smeared, is because the medical scandal is the thing that will break all the rest of it. You know,
I think he's probably right there. Oh, thank you. People used to say that. I used to work on the phone and people used to say that. So I don't know. But yeah, I more or less agree with him. I think it's probably going to be something to do with detransitioners or trans kids or something like that that's going to go beyond the pale for people. The only other thing I can really think of is like trans sports, but that's not really the biggest one, I don't think.
Connected to everything. We've had we've had all these stories we talked about today. Excuse me. And while these stories were going on, while they were common knowledge, you know, well, I say common knowledge, but common knowledge amongst people who were paying attention to the issue, trans-identified men like Natalie Wynn, who's ContraPoints, and India Willoughby and Sean Fay.
Jamie Dodger or something. There's one called Jamie.
Yeah.
Jamie Dodger. Jesus Christ. I need to go back to him at some point. Whenever I want to bring a shitstorm down on myself, I just cover Jamie Dodger.
And what's the other one? There's another one.
Yeah.
But anyway, all these trans-identified men who are very influential, who have been...
Oh yeah, I've been called TERF loads. Like when we did the debate the other day, someone I know actually showed up in my chat to call me a TERF and shit like that. Because they were angry that I didn't reply to one message or something, so I don't know. Apparently, if you don't reply to someone's message, it's perfectly reasonable to shout TERF at them over and over, but whatever.
Doing podcasts, they all swore blind, up and down, that the puberty blockers were reversible. And
yeah, like people did. Like I said, I don't remember ContraPoints doing it. I know personally people that were pushing this whole thing about them being fully reversible. All the stuff that it was based on was its use for like precocious puberty and stuff. So it's a completely different application. It's being used generally earlier in life by someone who's got precocious puberty for hopefully obvious reasons. But yeah, I remember this being pushed a lot of the time. I was very suspicious at the time because it sounded too good to be true. Or we suddenly got this kind of new medication and stuff, and it's like fully reversible and stuff. Don't reply, that's turfy. Exactly. Unless TRAs do it. In that case, it's fine for some reason. God, this is so loud. Sorry, one sec. I'm deafening myself. I just need to fix the volumes a bit. That should do. But yeah, fully reversible. Loads of people are pushing it. It's not true.
That you could just go off them and your puberty would resume normally. And the cross-sex hormones, there were no problems with cross-sex hormones whatsoever. These men went through a natural puberty, did not take puberty blockers, did not take cross-sex hormones, sometimes did, a little bit of estrogen, maybe, just to get a little pair of boobs going. There's someone online who is very...
I'm not sure about what you just said then. Like, none of them were on puberty blockers, sure, but like, didn't take cross-sex hormones? Like, surely most of these people are on them for life.
These men went through a natural puberty, did not take puberty blockers, did not take cross-sex hormones.
Yeah, like India Willoughby, ContraPoints, they didn't take HRT, I'm not sure about that one, but okay.
Sometimes did a little bit of estrogen, maybe just to get a little pair of boobs going. There's someone online who is very active as a trans activist, and to be fair, they seem to have had a bit of work done on the face, maybe. Some estrogen has had an effect, but nothing like what they're suggesting children go through. Nothing like that. And they're saying these children, these will only be happy if you do this to them, you know? So it's, if the medical scandal breaks, it means that...
I do find it a bit, there's something a bit off about sort of older trans women sort of pushing for child transition. It almost feels like some people are like trying to live vicariously through others and sort of have the so-called childhood or puberty that they never had or something. You can't just pause someone's natural development and expect there's going to be no side effects. Well, yeah, of course. And I mean, the people that I remember pushing this puberty blockers are reversible, fully reversible thing, they all cite, you know, fuck, what am I trying to say? They all cite like, you know, results from precocious puberty where they're taking it far younger. So it's to offset a puberty to happen normally as opposed to offset one to happen towards the end of your teens or something. But of course, none of them made these kind of distinctions. And to them, they seem to think that precocious puberty is like a gender issue, which is bizarre. So like you talk about puberty blockers and whether you think that trans kids should have them. And it's like, well, you allow cis kids gender affirming care. And it's like, well, no, this is a specific issue they have that means they need to delay their puberty so it happens normally, you know? Oh, hi, Jen. I'm not really in the trans sphere. I understand TERFs being a slur, but I don't know how many people care about it. The slur outside of those in the community. Yeah, it's a very like online and trans-specific kind of word, I guess.
Their influence will be curtailed a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that will be great because we can say, hang on a sec, you were lying. You were knowingly lying that you knew puberty blockers weren't reversible, or at least you knew there was no...
Well, someone knew they weren't reversible, and then whatever narrative got passed down, probably a lot of those people didn't. There's probably plenty of people in these TRA circles that earnestly believe all of this stuff, you know? And you can never tell who's who, so...
No evidence that they were, you know? And, you know, people will think, you lied to my child. You were the YouTuber who said that everything would be fine. You lied. And I think then you might be able to see more parents say...
Munchausen by proxy. Well, that's the thing, it can be. And that's what's worrying. Like, I don't know what barriers there are to stop a parent from, like, transing their kid. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, Munchausen by proxy, I worry about that. There doesn't seem many safeguards to stop like a parent having a vested interest in their kid being trans from being able to do that, you know? And I don't know. I think safeguarding is important, but it feels like when I talk to other people, they either think there already is safeguarding, which it doesn't feel like there is, or they kind of don't take those kind of worries seriously, where it's like, well, we're doing a lot of what ifs, but then isn't what ifs kind of stuff you have to do, especially with like consumable things like medication and so on. I know that Munchausen by proxy shouldn't be thrown around so easily. That's the way it comes across. Yeah, it does in some cases. Like, obviously you shouldn't assume everyone's doing it because of that, but it surely can be a factor. I mean, there must be a million different reasons why children might want to transition. And unfortunately, the parents having a vested interest in it can be a reason in itself.
Hang on a sec. I was just as fooled as everyone else. You know, if the whole of society is telling you that men can turn into women, then, well, you know, of course some people are going to fall for it, you know? Yeah. There was one trans man who actually Lancet spoke about, and he has a moustache, or she has a moustache and a light beard and looks like a man, you know, and so on. And he was talking about, I believe it was... an ectopic pregnancy. I think he had an ectopic pregnancy. They all do TikToks about how they've been getting on. So there's thousands of these fucking videos.
Yeah, ectopic pregnancy. I looked in the things briefly. It's where the fertilized egg rests in the fallopian tube instead of making its way to the uterus, at least according to this comment. I didn't know any better, so I'm trusting them. Oh, hi, confirmation bias. How are you doing? Also has significant detrimental side effects. Those who took Lupron because of precocious puberty and endometriosis, which they never took it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's gonna end up being lawsuits over like the trans stuff. There already has been in the UK. If you look up a case, it's about someone called Kira Bell, which was kind of the start of the current situation with puberty blockers in this country, where kids basically can't get them for transitioning.
About people, these kids talking about, well, I seem to have had another problem since the surgery, and I've seen my doctor and he says this and that. And then eventually there's a video going, I'm going to sue my doctor, I'm going to this, I'm going to that. Because trans surgeries, it's an absolute Wild West in the US, you know. Anyway, this young girl who looks like a man is saying that she started bleeding and she went in, she bleeded through her pad, and then she bled through towels, and I can't remember, this might be a dangerous one for me to talk about, but basically she thought she wouldn't have periods anymore, you know, but she's still got a female body. Yeah.
That is what it means. Okay, fair enough. Jesus Christ. It sounds awful. I mean, I can't imagine what it's like. I'm you know, I'm not built that way whatsoever, but yeah, thanks.
You know, and Exy Lancic pointed out that
I really want to know, like, the story he's telling. It doesn't even have to be that specific story. I just want to know what, like, a TRA type hears when they hear that kind of stuff. When they hear about some of the stuff that's gone wrong for people, especially in the US, where it seems, like you said, it's a bit like the Wild West of, like, surgeries, because it does kind of sound like a lot of these clinics are doing whatever the fuck they want, pretty much. At least from the experiences I've listened to from people who've had stuff go wrong. But, like, I just wonder what a lot of these supporters, like, hear when they hear these stories. Like, obviously they don't listen to them. Or, I don't know, all of them are paid actors or something. I'm not sure. It's bizarre.
Like, I think there was some, this is why I might have to, I know what I'll do. I'll say this as if it's true, and then I'll check it and I'll call you back.
All right.
Okay. But she had an ectopic pregnancy, which means that this is a very, you know, non-medical way.
Completely destroyed her tubes. I'm not surprised. Jesus Christ. That sounds awful.
Describe it, because I don't
You're
have
not a
clue.
scientist, but
Exy Lancic will take, if you guys find this video, it'll say. But basically, the fertilization of the egg takes place in the wrong place, like in a
cash cow. Yeah, I've heard it suggested, because there seems to be this disconnect between people who are under the impression that it takes a long time to get seen for, like, trans stuff, and people who feel like they were fast-tracked. Like, it's been suggested that a lot of the people being fast-tracked, they're like kids with richer parents or something. And I can believe that, you know, if you've got no shortage of money to spend, that probably does help an awful lot. And yeah, it's like some very fat wallets coming off of this, but are they going to stay that way? It really depends on how people's lives pan out. They just write it off because it's easy if the proverbial, well, the information is coming from his poison. Well, I guess so, yeah.
Different part.
Oh, hi Claire, by the way.
Part of the body. Oh. And it expands and bursts that part of the body. And that's what an ectopic pregnancy is. No, well, she's being interviewed. He is talking about.
Oh, that person.
She. Come on, man. At least pick one, you know.
Did the video.
Unpronounceable name.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exy Lancic is someone who just kind of comments on their videos, but all the videos are by them.
Right.
And they don't realize that they're creating a great big jigsaw puzzle of a medical scandal that most people still are pretending or cannot see.
It's an interesting.
Yeah, when he says jigsaw puzzle, it's like the pieces are like all over the place, but they're kind of slowly fitting together. It's gonna come crashing down. Like all these TRA types, they don't realize what they're walking into, and I don't know. I'm not going down with a ship like that, you know.
Interesting theory, like the science. Once the science is thoroughly, because it's already been debunked, but thoroughly debunked, this starts to go away. I suppose what other mass delusions that's happened with eugenics and things.
Yeah, the other problem is it's been debunked on both sides. Both sides' points have been debunked by each other. So what's real is literally a case of like perspective now, which is terrifying to me. You know, the whole age of post facts or whatever.
things like that. That's changed how people felt about, and suddenly the mass delusion went away.
Yeah.
But also, part of me feels like, gosh, I don't think that's going to be enough, because people argue over all kinds of science and things online, don't they, with conspiracy theories and whatnot. So I don't know.
We've had the whole of society clapping their hands to keep Tinkerbell alive. And Tinkerbell in this case is the idea that we all have a gendered soul.
Yeah.
And sometimes our unhappiness is caused, Scientology-like, by your gendered soul being in the wrong type of body. And they're telling this to kids. And they're saying...
I don't know how honest this is as a representation of what TRAs are... what TRAs are actually saying. But, like, I mean, you know, it sounds literally like religion. We have to thank the famous Kellyanne Conway for alternative facts. She was a Trump staffer or something, wasn't she?
Saying to kids that, well, do you know what it might be? It might be that your sexy soul has been born into the wrong carrier. But lots of examples of very happy people who have cut off their penis and magically become real girls. Some of these parents and children believe they will actually get a working vagina out of these operations.
I bet a lot of people listening will be surprised to hear you say that and go, oh, so they don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's just a hole, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus Christ, like, I definitely was not given the impression I was going to get a working vagina, you know what I mean? Like, again, I don't know what they're telling people in other countries. It seems like in the US there's a lot less kind of oversight, and they're just doing whatever they want. I remember seeing one study that was kind of aimed at sort of assessing like how standardized like trans care is, and it is not very, which is interesting because it's the same organization that writes the rules for most countries, that being WPATH. So you'd think it'd be better. Like, the biggest thing I can think of is that someone called Richie Heron had his surgery in the same country that I did, in the UK, like a year after mine, at a different clinic. Like, everything with my surgery was absolutely fine. I've had no problems. And this guy had just about every complication it's possible to get, like, really fucked up situation. And it's like, it's the same country. We're just from different areas. It's kind of terrifying when you think about it. Because, you know, we've got our own, you know, the NHS is like the government-run healthcare. You'd think it would be a lot more standardized if the government is running the healthcare, but it might not have been the case.
Wound.
It can have, sometimes it has some sexual...
Okay, hang on. He said something I disagree with. So this is Andrew Gold, and the other guy is Graham Linehan, who wrote some comedy shows, some of which I like. I like The IT Crowd, I like Black Books. I used to like Father Ted. Yeah, and this is Andrew Gold. The Irish guy is Graham Linehan.
A lot of people listening will be surprised to hear you say that and go, oh, so they don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's just a hole, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a wound.
It's a wound. Like, maybe in very technical terms, I would never describe what the results of my surgery as a wound, you know what I mean? Like, it seems to have healed up fine. I can pee and stuff. Like, what more do I need, really?
It can have, sometimes it has some sexual functions.
Yeah, I mean, hey, mine kind of does, I guess. They say some sexual function. I don't know if it's usually reduced, but then, shit. I think it was kids of a certain age, they start on puberty blockers. I think it was Tanner stage 2 or something. We had Marcy Bowers like literally admitting this. Like, if they start at a certain time, they can end up with like no sexual function. But I'd need to find that one.
Still,
I believe so. I cannot imagine though why.
If you try turning it off and on again, that's fine. Oh, they had a trans joke in one of those in one of their episodes.
I saw one. I heard about one guy who had the vaginoplasty, and he was surprised that he wasn't feeling sexual sensation. And I was like, how does that work?
Well, I don't know. It depends what you're told. This is the thing. If you're told that you definitely will and you don't, then yeah, you're going to be surprised. If you're told that you probably will, you might be surprised, I guess. Like, I'm sure I was told something that there is the chance of losing all sexual function. I mean, as if I have any anyway, you know, but yeah, I mean, the ability to orgasm or whatever.
Like, you know, you've completely distorted and destroyed your sexual equipment so that it has a cosmetic appearance that is different from the old one. Why did you think it would translate to anything but medical problems? And you know,
In that sense, I wouldn't agree. I just don't have that experience. When it goes fine, it seems to be okay. It's the problem is like, how often is it going wrong? Jazz was essentially castrated by the blockers. Yeah, they I don't remember much about Jazz Jennings. I really need to watch something about her on my channel. But I remember she didn't grow down there properly, and then it ended up taking like operation after operation. Like, it got really fucked up. I don't remember too much about it though.
oh, they have to dilate the wound or it'll close up
Because it's a wound.
because it's a
Well, you have to, at first, you definitely have to a lot. The longer it's been, the less you have to. And if you're having like regular penetrative sex, you don't really need to dilate either. It's not as bad as he's saying, you know? I wish they discussed it another way. Yes, not the same as this woman. Yes, complications, but talking it like it's a wound is just hard to get behind. Yeah. Listen, I think Graham Linehan is quite sort of pathological. He's been like fighting with the trans community on Twitter for a number of years. And there is a sense that he's kind of degrading himself, or has been for a long time. Because I remember when he used to find like gender non-conforming like teenagers and like post them on Twitter and like make fun of them. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Oh, no problem, Kitty Cat. Good to see you. So yeah, to be clear, I do think Graham Linehan is quite pathological about this. And it's part of why I would like to present more of a middle ground as much as I can.
the wound.
It's thinking of the gendered soul. I did a documentary about exorcism in Argentina, and I've mentioned it a few times in the podcast, so I won't go too far into it, but remarkable how similar what you described is to 17-year-old girls in Argentina.
Have you liked the stream? You should consider liking the stream. Also, check the links in the description. You can support the stream. You can check out some music that I've made anyway.
Getting exorcisms, and then sitting there, instead of with their doctor, it's with their priest, smiling for a photo and going, oh, I'm all better now.
Yes.
And a year later, they're absolutely not.
Right. Oh, really? In the exorcisms?
Yeah. There's a...
Oh, I see. So they've got mental problems and the exorcists are pretending that it's a demon and they can...
Yeah, and I think the exorcist probably believes his own bollocks,
Sure.
just like a lot of the doctors maybe do. But they're also incentivized to believe it because they're getting paid.
Yeah.
You know, and this exorcist was like, no money, but then he sort of exit via the gift shop after getting exercised. So I was sort of living on...
His whole life was destroyed by TRA. I feel bad for him in a way. To be honest, I haven't really heard his story from his perspective too much. Like, I think he's quite pathological. I don't like hate on anyone as much as I can help it. But yeah, I don't know. With age comes skin growth, aka your biggest organ, and if you put that on pause, you're basically freezing a child in place, which is what it did to Jazz. Yeah, I've definitely seen like accounts from people who've been on puberty blockers and ended up like stop growing whilst everyone else was all their peers and stuff are like shooting past them and stuff, and how like self-conscious that makes them feel. Jazz's mother was set on the idea. Yeah, well, this is what I'm saying. Like, there needs to be safeguarding so that abusive parents can't do stuff like that, but no one seems particularly invested in that whole idea. But yeah, I mean, if it is like how you're putting it, then yeah, that's very Munchausen's for sure.
Almost with this exorcist for about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Going in and filming with him. And it was always women, about 15 to 22. It's the same demographic as the girls here who are getting gendered souls.
Yes,
Instead of a gendered soul. And what was really happening is they had mental health issues, because growing up as a girl or a boy, but particularly girl in our society, it's really hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
And people look at you and they start to sexualize you, and it's horrible.
And I imagine there's some societies where, some of these societies where exorcisms take place are not the most advanced when it comes to women's rights. I remember this video that was...
I'm meant to be muted, don't worry.
almost impossible to watch of a guy who had decided that this young girl was a witch, and she was like holding onto the leg of the document.
Yeah, I usually mute when I'm playing stuff, so don't worry about that too much. It's when I stop and then I'm making mouth movements but nothing's coming out. That's when there's a problem.
Documentary makers, and he was going, give her to me, she's a witch. Yeah, and he was going to kill her, you know. So like, it's like everyone's got everyone's got solutions, magical solutions for what will, you know, cure society's ills, and most of them involve sacrificing women.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, well, it used to be that they used to believe their wombs would travel around their body, and that was why women have different moods and things.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Yeah.
So
they are mysterious creatures.
These women with their dancing wombs and gendered souls and demons inside them. It's a miracle they find time to have careers and live and all those kinds of things. What about celebrities who've been in touch with you? Obviously, you can't name them, but saying, hey, I actually agree with you, and I wish I could come out and say things, but I have to think about...
It's only happened once.
Yeah, a lot of those child star things in general feel kind of weird. And I mean, I don't know. Obviously, that's going to also have an effect on how she's come out the other side of it. Like, because I know she's like very like trans ally or whatever. I don't know how much of that is like the kind of public stigma, meaning like to come out and criticize it would get you pilloried, which is what happened. There was someone on Twitter that said a bunch of stuff about what she thinks should happen because of her detransition. And like every single fucking TRA on Twitter is like currently pillorying this person, which I don't know. I don't see the point of, but hey.
Well, okay, you can't say actually. No, don't say.
If you ever thought to detransition, she have to do it publicly. Yeah, I think that's, yeah, you're kind of hitting on what I was saying for sure. Can't imagine that fear of being a model trans child public. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure.
Can't say who. No, he was very decent and phoned me when he was in the area and said, "Do you want to meet up and have a lunch?" For which I was incredibly late because of my life was chaotic at that moment. And I turned up and he was very nice. Said he agreed with everything. Told me some stories of wokeism on the kind of comedy circuit that just disgusted him, and just said that and gave me another kind of insight into why no one was standing up for me, and it was because what they do, right, is that when someone like Rufus Hound is a good boy and does what he's told, and is nasty to women and calls them bigots and so on, when they do what they're told, then they'll not go on a little tour through your timeline using search terms like the C word, right? Or the F word, okay? But then, you know, they'll turn up hundreds, right? Because there was a time a few years ago when no one gave a damn about things like that. Or at least he was in their favor. So now these same people are pretending to give a damn about the use of the this or that word, you know?
Right.
It's so interesting who they go after and who they don't.